Unfortunately, this is literally my fourth time recording this video. I've made all of these nominations, but I'm just going to have to read through all of them, and I'm kind of going to speed run this. We're going to start strong again with the Best Picture category, and the Oscar goes to Iron Claw. It is still such a good movie. If you guys haven't, please go watch it. It was a lot better than I expected it to be. And for the Best Leading Actor category, the Oscar goes to Zac Efron. I said it before, I'll say it again. He is a better actor than what I've seen him in High School Musical and other movies like that. It is just time. He really deserves his flowers. And for the Best Leading Actress category, I'm going to give the Oscar to Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon. She did such an amazing job in this movie, and I believe she is the first Indigenous actor to receive an Oscar nomination. So I just felt that it was right that she gets the win. And she did an amazing job in Killers of the Flower Moon. For the Best Supporting Actor category, I am going to give the nomination to Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. He did such an amazing job doing something outside of his comfort zone, I think. I've only seen him in Marvel movies, so I don't really know how he is as an actor, but he absolutely blew me away in this movie. For the Best Supporting Actress category, I am going to give the Oscar to Divine Joy Randolph. She's exactly who I would want a supporting actress to be. She is so good at supporting both Paul and Dominic in their respective roles, and she was truly just a joy to watch in that movie. And for the Best Director, I am going to give the Oscar to Ari Aster for Beau's Afraid. He did such an amazing job at portraying what I think is just an insight into his head. When I watched that movie, it immediately just felt like an Ari Aster movie to me, and even though it's not as good as Hereditary or Midsommar, it is still a pretty solid 3-hour watch. And moving on to the Best Original Screenplay, I am going to give the Oscar to Infinity Pool. And for the Best Adapted Screenplay, I am going to give the Oscar to How to Blow Up a Pipeline. The Best Cinematography, I am going to give that to Poor Things. The use of the fisheye lens was really well done in that movie. The distortion that the fisheye lens creates makes us really feel like we're living in Bella's world, where it's just weird, it's distorted, it's funky, and I absolutely loved every minute of it. For the Best Production Design, I am going to give that to Barbie. The reason I'm giving this movie the win is kind of self-explanatory, but I will say that watching this movie genuinely brought me back to when I was younger playing with Barbies. It genuinely felt like it was plastic and it was kind of fake until they got into the real world, where you really were able to tell that stark difference, and the use of practicals were amazing as well. And for Best Editing, I am going to give it to Poor Things. Now, I will say that Killers of the Flower Moon is a close second, because even though it's a 3-hour long movie, there were no scenes where I felt like they needed to add on to it or take away from it. However, with Poor Things, I think that there was better rhythm and pacing for it. The whole movie watching experience was just really smooth. For the Best Original Score category, I am going to give the Oscar to Daniel Pemberton, who scored Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I absolutely love this score. I listen to it every day, whether I go to the grocery store or I go to school. I listen to it all the time, and I've seen the movie 6 times, and every single time I watch it, it still blows me away. Though I will say that a lot of people want Oppenheimer to win this category, and I disagree, because whenever I look at people's Letterboxd reviews, they talk about how the sound for Oppenheimer was way too loud. So for the Best Original Song, I am going to have to give it to What Was I Made For in Barbie by Billie Eilish. I think it really encapsulates what we're supposed to feel in that scene. And all of the other songs in this category I really like, and I listen to it often, but something about What Was I Made For really worked well in that scene. Moving on to Best Costume Design, I'm going to give it to Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, I don't know much about costumes, but my friend talked about how all of the costumes that were made for this movie were made in a traditional way, which I think is really important because it's so easy to just make the costumes and say that it's good enough, but to go the extra step and make something traditionally and showing the characters in an authentic way is so important. Next up is best makeup and hairstyling. I'm going to give that to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. For the best sound editing, I'm going to give it to The Zone of Interest. I really like Jonathan Glazer's sound design. I watched Under the Skin, and that movie absolutely blew me away. It really shook me to my core, and I've never had a movie be able to do that just with the audio alone. For the best visual effects, I'm going to give it to Godzilla Minus One. I really like that the director also did the VFX. I don't know if any other director has done that before, but I think that's really cool. For the best international film, I'm going to give it to Perfect Days. This one is just so beautiful. It really does a good job at showcasing that we should be living in the moment. We are watching this character live the same day over and over, but it's just the simplicity of living in the now. And my personal favorite category, the animated feature film. There are so many good options this year, but I am going to go with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Even though I will give an honorable mention to The Peasants because that movie is over 40,000 oil paintings that are just animated together. But Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse really gets me every single time I've watched it, and I've seen it 6 times in theaters. The best animated short film is gonna go to Pachydermy, and I chose this because of the subject matter. I won't outright say what it is because I want all of you guys to watch it yourselves, but it really brings up a topic that should be discussed more. For the best live action short film, I am going with Red, White, and Blue. This is another short film where the subject matter is so important. It discusses the really hard topic that is women's health issues, and I wanted this to win because I think stories like this need to be amplified, and I am so happy that the actual Oscars nominated this as one of their films as well. And now replacing the best documentary feature film is the action film category, and the Oscar goes to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. The action sequences in this were so entertaining, and the entire movie, even though it was almost 3 hours long, was just an absolute thrill to watch, especially when I watched it in IMAX. That was so fun. Another favorite category of mine is the best horror film, and the Oscar is gonna go to Skinamarink. This is the first movie where I wanted to walk out of the theater, and I've never wanted to do that before, and the reason is because this movie has changed my mindset on horror movies. I have never been the type of person to be scared of horror movies, and this shook me to my core. It was so good. And the other thing I really like about it is how divisive it is, because people either love this movie or they hate it. I've never heard something in between. And on to the next category, another one that I made up, the middest feature film. I'm going to give the Oscar to The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And another honorable mention that I wanted to bring up is Cocaine Bear, because that movie was not good at all. My friend talks about how that movie isn't as disappointing as he thought it was, but it was still incredibly mid to me, so I think at the very least I'm going to mention it in this category. Moving on to the last category of this video, the worst feature film, and it is going to come as a surprise to no one that Wish is the worst film of the year. Disney can be doing so much better, and it's so disappointing. Another honorable mention I wanted to add to this category is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. That movie is bad. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's bad. And to wrap this video up, there have been a lot of good movies and a lot of bad movies this year. It was really hard to come up with a winner for each of these categories because there were some amazing movies this year. And if you disagree with any of them, please comment down below because I do want to hear your opinions. When I did a survey with all my friends every single person had said different things. So I am incredibly curious to see what you guys have to say about my nominations and the winners.